Hello.
Good evening.
Hello.
How's everybody doing today?
Hi, Ronald. How's it going with you?
I'm good. I'm good. On the up and up, right?
From the bottom.
From the bottom. Started from the bottom, now we're here.
Well, I'm John. Hi, Steve. How are you?
Hi, John. I am fine. How are you?
I'm Ronald. How are you?
I am fine. How are you?
This is Movie Schmovie, episode 70.
Oh, man. Another episode number that ends in 0.
Yep.
We
Just
made it so far.
Going so, man.
We're running through them, man.
I'm very impressed with our consistency,
Yeah, man.
with our drive.
We could have did 5 and said, fuck it.
We could have.
We could have said, forget this.
That ship sailed 65 episodes ago. The possibility of doing 5. I hope everybody liked that new opening that we just did. We're trying to do something more dynamic where we kind of introduce ourselves. I think if you go back and listen to the way we started today's show, you'll see that there were just enough awkward pauses in the first 30 seconds of the show to sort of get that out of the way.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. That's what you need. You need that energy. Right?
And we start this show off on a positive note. Not very on a positive note, but just on a positive note. It's going to be a lot to talk about this episode.
Yes, we got to stay.
We have a lot of movies, I think they call them,
Right, yes.
to talk about today.
Moving cinema files.
Cinemaphile movie
Yeah.
videos.
That's true, and movies that 2 or more of us have seen. So it's
Holy.
We're talking. I think 3 total films
total.
that at least 2 of them we've all seen, and the other one 2 of the 3 have seen.
yes.
Right.
That's amazing. Good job, both of you guys.
Right.
And I'd like to pat myself on the back too, since neither of you give me any credit. But thank you for anyway. So John and I, we're gonna go right into this.
I actually have
Throw something down.
one little bit of business right before we get
Business.
started. This is just something I thought I'd share with you guys on the mics because it's important that you know that when you guys come over here to record an episode, you think you leave and you're just out of sight, out of mind. But I'm about to prove to you that's not the case. You may remember a couple of weeks ago we had it might not stick out in your memory, but there was a moment during the podcast where we were talking about Kickstarter products, and you referred to Ronald as Mr. Tennis
Yeah.
And it just stuck with me that kind of sounded like a superhero name. So then I listened to that episode, and I pulled a couple of other possible superhero names from that same episode, and I sort of assigned my 5-year-old live-in artist to maybe do some superhero designs. So since we are in the middle right now of the summer, we're not quite in the middle, but since we are at the beginning of the summer movie season, there's a lot of superhero action. I thought you guys might want to know that it's not just superheroes that are in movies that we talk about on this podcast, but we're superheroes ourselves. So
You guys cannot experience
there's
this.
Mr. Tennis.
Oh my goodness, this guy's incredible looking.
There's Steve Dexter.
Steve Dexter.
By day, he's a good guy. By night, he's a bad guy.
Nice.
Steve Dexter.
And
I
then
like this.
I'm the Killjoy.
The These are amazing.
They are amazing.
We have to scan these and post them immediately to
Yes.
Facebook.
I was thinking what we'll do is we'll scan them up and we'll have them ready to. They'll be like the episode
man,
artwork for this
definitely.
episode.
Wow, this is incredible.
And
I'm gonna frame this because one day it's
I
gonna be
wanna
worth
take
something.
Hold on, let me take a picture of that before you take it.
You'll get it back.
Yeah.
It's yours, Ronald. I think.
Oh man.
Well, after I scan them, I'll get them.
Yeah. Is it possible to have him sign these?
Yes,
Yeah,
that's what I was going to
please.
do.
Okay,
I was gonna get
excellent.
him, maybe even write the character name.
Please, that would be better, just so there's no confusion on what
Thank
that
you.
is.
So I gleaned enough to know that
This is great.
Amongst the powers, Mr. Tennis Seems to be a Tony Stark-like figure in that he like makes jets and bombs and things like that, but they're all tennis shoes shaped. And Henry actually told me that I asked how did he become, I said, well, how did Ronald become Mr. Tennis Shoe? He said he was bitten by a radioactive tennis shoe.
You do have to watch out for them.
Yeah, right. So you might want to be careful. Steve Dexter was turned into Steve Dexter when he was hit by a mysterious laser.
And it just came out of nowhere.
Wow, I have no memory of that.
And apparently Mr. Tennis Shoe then built a machine that I got into that turned me into the Killjoy.
Killjoy.
And the thing about Killjoy's powers is you can see he's shooting green rays out of his hands there. That is apparently, as Henry says, he uses that to change people's attitude.
Nice.
So what happens is if you're like a bad guy and you're like coming in and you're getting ready to fight, what I can do is not so much like stop you from fighting, but just make you not want to fight. Like I shoot you with a ray and you're not that excited anymore about your plan.
I like that.
Also, and this is kind of a cool power, I have to say, at night I can call forth the forces of the dead, according to Henry.
Wow.
So,
Oh my goodness.
I think you got the best one. That's great.
well, the thing about it is there's a whole nighttime thing. There's a nighttime line for the superhero team because at night you're out there trying to be a bad guy. So apparently what we have to, like what Mr. Tennis Shoe and Killjoy have to do is at night, our job is to sort of keep you out of trouble.
Oh, okay.
And there's like a giant tennis shoe sort of cocoon chamber that we try to put you in every
me
night.
in?
Yes. So,
And lace me up?
yes.
Okay.
There was a
Do
drawing
I have
of
any
that.
special powers?
You can. You have your, as you can see from the drawing, you have a purple claw hand and purple claw foot, which makes you very strong and menacing.
Of course.
But you also can run so fast, and when you're running, you become invisible.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's an amazing. I mean, that makes it really easy for me to be bad at night.
Yeah.
Because you can barely see me at night to begin with.
Yeah. And my night vision. The one thing they don't say is Killjoy's night vision is not that strong. Not his best suit.
Oh, this has made my night. This is the best episode ever.
Man.
This kid, I swear.
Right.
Wow.
Steve Dexter.
Mr. Tennis Shoe kind of looks
Oh,
like
good.
Mr. Tennis Shoe's face kind of looks like a Ninja Turtle a little bit.
I like it.
Like
I
Michelangelo.
I like.
I like it.
The sneakers have stars on them, right? And those.
And
Yeah.
on this drawing, you can see there's a great. I think that's me in the machine becoming Killjoy, and that's
There's a whole
Ronald,
storyline.
Flying, or that's Mr. Tennis Shoe. This is a bad guy, apparently. I asked you what this bad guy's name was. Noctonius.
Noctonius has a 4-pack.
Yeah.
He is ripped.
He does.
He is ripped.
He's super ripped.
So I'll have to scan Noctonius too. I guess
Yeah, you gotta have him
that's
in.
some kind of fist-oriented
Yeah,
power with
yeah.
a name like Noctonius.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah. So now you can see that.
Now Iron Man looks like
I
nothing
know.
compared to these.
Little to no creativity involved in Iron Man.
God.
But
Well, thank you to
Yes.
to the little man. Thanks.
I'll tell him. He was excited. That's what when you guys got here in the kitchen, he
I saw that little whisper.
whispered to me.
I saw the whisper, and I heard that. I was like, "What is he talking about?"
What I like, Steve, is that he got your sort of little. your
My
sort of
my
spike.
hair
Yeah,
push up.
yeah.
Yeah, I like that. He's
All
very
right.
observant. Wow.
I'm flattered. I really do love that picture.
Yeah. I'll give you as soon as I get them scanned in. I'll give you guys the originals.
That is
Cool,
incredible.
cool.
I can't
Might
wait to
get it
show it
framed.
off.
Mm-hmm.
Might get it framed.
All right, so let's get into this.
Let's get into something far less adorable.
Far less adorable. Well, in most cases, all these movies, not so
Yeah.
much adorableness.
Although some of those
adorability.
baby pigs in Upstream Color were pretty cute.
Yeah, I kind of want to get one,
Yeah.
like a teacup one that stays small.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But yeah, the first film we're going to talk about is John and I. We both saw Upstream Color. Upstream Color.
That's the porn version of
Yeah.
Upstream Color. Upstream Comer.
There is a director's bootleg where they went that route. Yeah, so Upstream Color.
Yes.
The second effort from is it Shane
Carruth.
Carruth, yeah, the director of Primer. This has been like the film pretty much that came out of Sundance earlier this year in January. It's now available on video on demand and I believe Blu-ray. I know, John, you were really geared up to see this film.
Yeah.
And I don't know, the first thing that I think about when I saw it, and I messaged this to you, is like, I just feel like this is the kind of movie that makes me not sure if I actually understand life a little bit. Like, I do think that I understand what the movie was about, and like, and a lot of the through lines that go, with the main characters and the main guy and girl, Chris and whatever Shane's character's
Jeff.
name was, Jeff. I
didn't remember that. I'm looking at the
yeah, okay,
IMDb
good. I
page.
get that, and I see the other characters. We have the thief, we have the audio sampler / pig farmer,
Mhm.
and the orchid gatherers, harvesters.
Orchid Mother and Orchid Daughter.
Okay, there we go, mother and daughter. I don't know. I just, man, I felt this way when I saw Primer, and I felt this way about films like Tree of Life, and I don't know. Like, I know Ronald did not like that movie at all.
It did not.
It's like it feels like one of those puzzle movies, like where there's a mystery to it, but it's not a mystery type of movie.
Right.
You're trying to piece together what this picture should look like, or what he intends it to look like, with the pieces that you're given and some of the things you're filling in yourself. But
Right.
there's just something so I don't even know what the right word is to try to describe like his kind of film.
Well, I mean, I think there's sort of demanding films in a way.
Absolutely, yeah.
I haven't seen Tree of Life, but I mean, I've got mixed feelings on Terrence Malick
Right.
and directors like that, where it's like they may be brilliant, and in fact, sometimes it seems that they are, but that doesn't mean every time they're infallible.
Sure, absolutely.
And I think that I do come down on the side of thinking Upstream Color was an interesting movie that I did enjoy and that I would, actually maybe want to see again someday.
Definitely.
But there's still a part of me that kind of to what you're saying. I think I get it too, and I think there is a. It's not that the plot as depicted on screen is hard to follow. It's that it's such a strange plot line that you really sort of have to take what you're seeing at face value. And if you do that, you can connect the dots. There's a lot of really bizarre things going on in the movie, but the way it's depicted, if you try to connect the dots, it's very apparent, what the movie's trying to show you.
Sure.
And at the risk of ruining, I mean, really part of the discovery of this film is to watch it and kind of let it unfurl. But the nearest example of a or the closest thing to a plot you can say that it has is that it's about these people who are sort of brought together by something strange that happens to them, by some sort of outside force that seems to be influencing them or controlling their mind, and kind of how that both affects their lives, but also more so how it forces them to forge this bond with each other.
Right.
But yeah, the movie it's not really a plot oriented movie. I thought Primer was more of a movie to puzzle over, and there was more to kind of chew on there. With Upstream Color, I found myself more being just sucked in by the visuals and the kind of dreamlike way that the movie worked. And within that, it does have some moments of what you might call deep sci-fi or true horror. There's some kind of body horror going on in there. There's definitely some gross moments. But it's the love story part of it that I don't know if I connected enough with it to really feel like that part worked for me on the purely emotional level. I think all the other stuff is interesting, but do you know what I'm saying, Steve?
Yeah, I almost felt like a part of me kind of took their relationship or the romantic piece about it, like of when we actually see them come together, and I guess what actually causes that is so it's not artificial, but it's like induced, So I don't know that I totally felt like I was supposed to buy them as like a couple, you know what I'm saying? Like I almost felt like I was supposed to feel like this is something that is unnaturally happening because of like some of the things that we see earlier in the film of what effect this element of the film has on people.
It's so hard to talk about this.
Yeah. I'm not trying to give anything away, but you see the element, one of the elements in question, like what it does to people or to two subjects or to two objects, and you see that it's only happening because of its introduction into this system, So like. I don't know that I totally felt like them coming together was something that was supposed to happen, but more so something that just happens because of what was in the step before it. And like even talking about like the three other characters in the film of what really isn't, there's not a whole lot of characters going, or really even not a lot of dialogue going on in this movie.
No, really, there's not.
Yeah, each of the
Very
thief,
visual.
the sampler, and the orchid gatherers, like they each operate so independently of one another, but and yet really having no awareness of the other piece that of
we
what's
can
going
see.
on.
Yeah.
That you're able to see. The one fulfills its duty because it wants to and because it has a need to, and it gets something out of it.
Mm-hmm.
And then once that piece ends, it goes on to this next piece. Like from. I don't even know where you say it would start. If it starts here or there, I guess you start with the pig farmer to the orchids to the thief. It's just like a cycle. But you almost get a feeling like they're not aware of where. What I'm trying to say, they're not aware of the step before them.
Yeah, it's almost
they're
like,
not aware of why or how they got what they're doing with, doing something with.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
No, that's because there's a natural process that the movie kind of details that involves the life of this sort of parasitic organism,
right?
And you see how that's connected to these people that have all these that are. I mean, and we can see they're directly affected by this organism. It's never really defined to us what's going on,
right?
But the different people who are involved in parts of this chain are almost like the different like in nature, the different animals that are kind of involved in a natural process.
Yep.
The way that a bee spreads pollen, and he's not
Totally.
thinking I'm spreading pollen for the benefit of these plants. Or it's a boy bee that I'm talking about. I guess aren't they all actually?
Yeah.
But like, it's in that sense. So in a weird way, you're right. Like the people as players are kind of either that you could say they kind of transcend their humanity to become part of this natural order and this natural process. They all play a role in it. It's hard. It's never really laid out how much choice they all have or how aware they are of the big picture. There's like the sampler guy does seem to have some kind of if not an omniscient view on what's going on, he does seem to sort of be aware of how he's affecting things.
Yeah.
But even you can't really view him as like the tip of any particular iceberg. And what's interesting about the movie, and I did read something that Shane Carruth said about it that did kind of shine a light on the movie for me, is that he said what he was interested in depicting what happens when we see a character who's kind of stripped down to nothing, and how they may be acting on faulty information. Like if you strip your personality down to its barest elements, if you're starting from square one, there's no guarantee that you're going to be acting on good information or doing the right thing. And what we see this character do, based on what happens during the beginning of the movie, we see that she goes through this thing that kind of leaves her at zero, pretty much.
Okay.
And so seeing how she kind of proceeds, that we see at the end of the movie that what looks like a resolution to the character, it doesn't really resolve the greater mechanics of the story that we saw in motion, but for the character's purpose, it plays as a resolution.
Absolutely.
And I think that can be very, I don't know, I mean, the fact that feels a little distanced and kind of alienating, it's clearly the intention of the movie. Now, is it a pleasurable experience to watch a movie like that?
Yeah.
That's what I think is up. And I think that's kind of what you're saying about this type of movie. That's like, it can be challenging and interesting and good, but does it need to be that challenging? You know, I don't know.
Yeah. I was reading a lot of interviews with Shane, and he just seems so intentional about it all. And I mean, it's like there's nothing that is not being picked up that he didn't intend to be picked up. I mean, the only thing I read from him that he actually acknowledged of any kind of correlation with the film and a user's experience or a viewer's experience that wasn't intended was comparisons to Primer.
Yeah.
You know, like everything else, it was its own thing. You know, everything that everybody's commented on, critics and everything with the movie, it's like that's exactly what he planned.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, just the little bit I know about him, he's like got like a mathematics background, so he's very like very driven, focused. You know, everything has to be logical. And you know,
it's been 9 years since Primer too.
Yeah.
So I mean, clearly he takes his time with developing the material.
I mean, definitely a really cool film. I mean, I definitely don't feel like I disliked it. I did really enjoy it.
Yeah.
I just don't know how I feel about saying that I liked a lot or I loved a movie like this, because I don't really know. I don't know. I just, I definitely need to see it again, but I don't know that I experienced something that I take away with me.
No, I think you're right. You almost feel
movie.
like a phony saying I loved it, because you sort of feel like I just finished watching it today. I think you
so
did
did
too.
I, yeah.
So in other words, I haven't had time to really pour over it.
Process everything.
And it does seem like the kind of movie. I would say the one thing. How do you think it compares to Primer?
I think I would say I quote unquote enjoyed Primer more, because I feel like with Primer I was more accepting of the challenge to try to figure out what was going on.
Yeah.
And to follow the timeline and all these like paths that were being created by what that story's about.
Mm-hmm.
With this one, I didn't really. I mean, it's you kind of catch on pretty early of like what the pieces are of this cycle, So you're not really trying to figure anything out. You're more just trying to like go along with it and see how how these main characters try to close the loop on this.
Mm-hmm.
But I definitely felt like Primer was a lot more. I mean, I think actually Primer was probably a little more challenging to understand what was going on.
I think so too.
But
it was more engaging.
Yes, exactly. Like I felt like I was way more into trying to figure it out and try to like make sense of everything that was happening and like explain the movie to myself as I was watching it. But I mean, still, I actually saw Primer a couple of times when it came out, and I mean, that's like required viewing, I think, to see that movie. Mm-hmm. In my opinion, I mean, definitely a really impressive film. I mean, and you can see that this guy's got skills. I mean, I think he's definitely a director to watch. I don't know that he will.
Well, I mean, it's like he does the score, he directs it.
Oh, dude, the score was great.
He shoots it, he edits it, he stars in it, and on top of that, all of those things are done really well. As an actor, I think he's pretty darn good. I don't know that I think he's great. I think there's something about watching an actor shoot himself, being so serious, that does make me feel. I mean, like it's not even an insult to call this movie pretentious, though. It is extremely pretentious.
Oh, absolutely.
But I mean, a lot of great art is pretentious.
It is.
It's like that's what you actually people say that as a knock, but you want you want an artist to be ambitious and to try to make their work connect to something bigger than what it is. Like
sure.
So I guess what makes something, if it's pretentious and bad, it usually means it fails at what it's trying to do. I really think this is such a deliberate movie. I don't know that you could say that it fails. I do. I do think I favored Primer for the reasons you said, but also I think that just there was a cleverness and kind of a wittiness to that movie that made it more. It's like from as it was rolling along, you felt more like you knew what puzzle you were trying to figure out. And with Upstream Color, it's really only when it gets to the end. I mean, this is not a problem with the movie. It's only 90 minutes or so. It's not a demanding movie in that sense. But when it gets to the end, it's only then that you're able to kind of file away things in the right order and realize, oh, okay, if I'd known what kind of story this was, I might have spent less time trying to puzzle out what it all meant and just kind of riding along on the atmospherics of the movie. Because I think there's a lot of stuff that happens in the middle that I still don't understand what order it was supposed to happen in, and if it's linear. There's a lot of stuff that either is depicting non-linear time or it's depicting simultaneous events happening at this, or different iterations of the same scene, that kind of thing. It all sounds very confusing to talk about, which is probably a sign of just what a cinematic experience this movie is. So yeah, it's definitely to be seen and to have your own opinion formed about it. And I agree 100% that he remains one of those directors that I'll very excitedly look forward to what he does next time too.
Yeah, for sure.
Just some props to Shane Carruth is in it, and as I said, he's good. But Amy Seimetz, who plays the character Chris, I thought she was great, particularly in the opening of the movie, where she's playing a character who's sort of not in control of what's going on, and she almost has to play someone who's almost in a trance. But there's she keeps this. There's some spark inside her that is not just dead-eyed. She's not just playing this as a character who's like been brainwashed. She's playing it as there's someone inside there trying to make sense out of things. And I thought she did a good job, as you said, with almost no dialogue of bringing that character to life. So
yeah, the film. I mean, visually, it's a gorgeous experience, and I mean, and like you just mentioned, him being involved with doing the score
yeah, the sound design
is great. I mean, absolutely. I mean, even in the piece of the film where the pig farmer who's like he basically captures audio samples, like even the score over top of everything that he captures is even engaging and really interesting. But yeah, I would definitely recommend checking out Upstream Color. It's not for everyone. I truly believe I probably couldn't watch it with half my friends without them like being like, screw this movie halfway through, or like what did you do to me kind of thing. But I mean, for the if you're aware of who he is or of his prior film, or following the buzz out of Sundance,
or if you heard us finally put the case to rest on how to pronounce Primer, and you're like, now I need to know more about this guy,
then I would definitely definitely go see it.
It's also aren't they doing like a simultaneous like Blu-ray? Isn't it? It's everywhere now.
Yeah,
right?
It just came out this prior Tuesday, the what was it, the 7th. Video on demand Blu-ray. I mean,
and he's distributing it himself too.
Yeah, so. It went into Sundance. Having said that, he was distributing it himself. Like, it wasn't. I don't think he was intending to have like a studio buy this film at Sundance. It was just like he wanted to do this movie himself, or through whatever channels they have alliances with. But
someone asked him, "Do you want to get on? Get a bigger budget and start offloading some of these jobs on other people?" And he said no, that he wants to keep doing everything, and the only thing he doesn't want to do as much of is the sort of administrative part of it. That's the only part that he doesn't like, but everything else, I think he's happy to spend time, crafting these things. And I mean, I know in the meantime, wasn't he like a consultant on Looper? So I feel like there are probably worse things than being known for kind of being the go-to guy for smart sci-fi ideas. At this point, I like his mix of genre and something more plausible or something that feels more realistic. This movie is in many ways more far out than Primer. But definitely, if you like Primer, you check it out.
Yeah, just a quick note on. I was just reading about the actress you just mentioned, Amy Seimetz. Is that how you say it? Is that how you say it, Seimetz? She's going to be on the new series, this new season of The Killing that got picked back up. Yeah, that comes in June.
It's the third season.
Yeah, just random. But
wow.
If you're looking for more of her, she'll be on The Killing. That starts back up in June. So the next movie that we're gonna jump into. We're gonna go next. We're gonna say smaller.
Yeah,
we'll say the bigger one for the bigger conversation. And that is the new film. Well, it's been out for a couple weeks now, so it's probably in your town by now if it's been out for a couple weeks. But it's called The Place Beyond the Pines. This is the new film with Ryan Gosling, Bradley Cooper, Eva Mendes, Ray Liotta, the weird scary dude from Chronicle, Ben DeHaan. But this is the new film from the director of Blue Valentine, Derek Cianfrance.
Yeah.
I just went for it, John. I looked up how to say it. I found a couple different ways. But yeah, so I mean, this is a movie that
we'll put it to rest. We'll come back to this later with, and if we'll use the YouTube clip method to find, because the one person I saw that like was interviewing him that said his name, I didn't trust the guy because he was asking some really stupid. He like said Cianfrance.
That's kind of what I just said, wasn't it?
But he also was asking like lots of really dumb questions. So I thought, okay, this guy he didn't check his work. But yeah, maybe it's Cianfrance.
The only thing, the immediately seeing this film, I walked out and I felt like this movie felt like it could have or should have been like almost like I want to say an American epic film. Like it felt like it had the scope of being one of those like multi-generational. You know, it's got the 2+ hour runtime where there's definitely space to try to fit this in.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and even the subject matter, like the idea of, you know, fathers and sons and the repercussions of what your generation prior has done with their lives and like what it does to yours or doesn't do, whatever.
It could have been wrapped up a little better.
Well, I mean, when you get to the end, it does. Yeah, I think that's. I mean, we've discussed it a little bit. That's probably one of our biggest issues is the third act of the film. But yeah. I mean, there was definitely more good than bad. I mean, I definitely still really enjoyed the film. I thought most of the acting was pretty good. I definitely thought Ryan Gosling was great in it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how I felt about Bradley Cooper. I think in the older time stuff, like I guess when he's younger in the film, I definitely enjoyed his parts much more. But I think that's also maybe that part became a victim of I think what was like a rushed third act. But I mean, I don't know. What were your takeaways walking out of it?
I mean, that was one of the things. Like, I don't know if it was like what the whole politics thing do to you as a person that made
that's a good point.
That kind of washed his character out so much, and I think that's kind of what it was. Like I mean, I kind of don't want to give away what happens to Bradley Cooper's character, but he goes through.
Well, you get he starts out as a kind of a rookie cop, and you get the sense that for him it's all about like it's a stepping stone. That like we find out his dad's a judge. And we find out that he's maybe a guy with like political aspirations. And so you see this progression of a guy who's kind of using his experience as a policeman as a stepping stone to get in, and it all kind of goes hand in hand with the events of the plot as far as like how he advances and everything. So in that sense, I don't know that we were supposed to really get inside that character's head. He has a couple of moments where we see him kind of make a choice that you might not agree with, or that you might recognize is going to be. Is going to have bad consequences somewhere down the road, It's
one of the only cop movies I've seen that have like a message about the karmic sort of things that happen with cops.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like you always see like the cop does something really shitty and then gets shot at the end, but you never really see the ripple effect of how someone's actions, whether it's a good thing or a bad thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know what I mean? Like that's
to see it play out.
Yeah, to see it play out. Because that's one of the things that's like the beginnings of some of the weirdness that happens in the forces. So there's an event that occurs with Bradley Cooper, and he's recounting the situation with the cop, and there's a scene like that scene where he's like in the hospital, and he like gives an answer.
Yeah, there's that. That's the moment I'm talking about. Yeah,
like that's not what happened.
Right,
and that's the beginnings of like the kind of underworld of what it is. They're government gangsters, and a lot. Some are. Like some are law-abiding citizens, and so, I mean law-abiding.
We were just talking about Southland, so we're fond of entertainment where cops are essentially good people trying to do the right thing too. Yeah. So, but this is definitely one that approaches that idea of corruption. What I thought was interesting was when Bradley Cooper's character is kind of trying to strike out at the corruption. He doesn't really go about it in a particularly smart way. No. You see that he does it in a way that is very selfish and self-interested. And it kind of contrasts with Ryan Gosling's character, who is getting involved in some shady dealings on the wrong side of the law, but he's doing it for what you might consider to be a very heroic, but a very he's not doing it for himself. He's doing it to provide for other people. So in that sense, it was really interesting to see that dichotomy between a cop who's doing the right thing for the wrong reasons and a crook who's doing the wrong things for what you might say are right reasons.
I really enjoyed Ryan Gosling shrilly scream every time.
Oh no, that was great. Yeah. Get the fucking crowd. No, that
I like yeah. What do you? Oh yeah. There's a video of that on YouTube. So like it just loops.
Well, it's what's great about that is it's that Marlon Brando thing that he does, where it's just like it reminds me of like Nick Cage doing the squeaky voice in Peggy Sue Got Married, or something like that, or something Sean Penn would do too, where it's like, oh, you guys want me to be in this movie? Well, here's this one thing I'm going to do is when I, you know. So Gosling though, when he plays, there's a moment where he's flipping out and his voice gets very like whiny and shrill, and
I love that
he's kind of mad at himself in that scene too, though. So,
I like that his character isn't very. He's vulnerable in a really like real way. The scene where he goes to talk to Eva Mendes and he basically proclaims that he's going to take care of her the best way he knows how to, basically. And she repeats what he says, and then he basically thinks that she's mocking him.
Mm-hmm.
And what could have happened is with a lesser actor, he could have just started yelling at her. But you could see in his face sort of what happens whenever you hear something that kind of tears you down. You kind of deteriorate when you're hearing something that's like hurtful, and you don't want to like react to it right there, but you have no, like, you're in a conversation. You can't leave the conversation. It's things like that Ryan Gosling does that separates him from a lot of people.
So did I miss the line of dialogue that explained why Eva Mendes's character had a squirrel's nest on her head?
She became an older woman.
Was that supposed to be? Yeah, like Eva Mendes, who, as we know, is a very beautiful woman. It plays a sort of down on her luck, like a mom who's trying to get by, and she's got a good man, but you can tell that they don't have a lot of money, and they're she's like a working girl, and it's funny when an actress like that plays that type of character, they always want to de-glamorize her, which I kind of applaud, because, it's nice to see someone without makeup or not looking like they were done by like a professional stylist. But I love it when they go overboard, when the sort of implied insult to normal women is like, okay, Eva Mendes, in order to make her look like a normal woman, we have to like make her look like she's gotten run over by a train, basically, like her bags under her eyes, wrinkled face. Like, I just think I think they over de-glamorized her character just a little bit, but I can honestly say the one thing I was impressed with her, I haven't seen her act in something that was really kind of meaty like this. I thought she was pretty good.
She was.
I was very surprised in that sense. And the guy who plays her husband or boyfriend, Kofi, that guy was really good.
He was. He's also in House of Cards.
Yeah.
Oh, man, he was good.
Yeah.
He's good. I mean, like,
he has just the right energy for like the guy who you're with the lady and her old man is kind of, her old boyfriend is kind of sniffing around for various reasons in the story. But like, we know why Ryan Gosling is there. But as the new boyfriend, this guy Kofi, I thought he handled really well that kind of role of like just the way you would reach a limit with it,
Yeah, you see enough going on. You kind of get to a point where you can't stand what's going on, and you stand up for yourself, and whatever happens after that point happens after that point.
Well, I mean, you can tell that Kofi wants to deal with this guy man to man, and the character that Ryan Gosling plays, what's his name, Luke Glanton? Yeah. He's very internalized. He's another character that doesn't say a whole lot for Ryan Gosling, but that kind of it's like he's definitely a guy who, as you were saying about that kind of vulnerability. You see every choice he makes kind of play out, and you see how, again, why he's doing it, but you can also see where it's like, this is not going to work out. Like it's a very tragic character.
Yeah, it's really sad to see people that are kind of like, he's in a place where he cannot kind of do above a certain level of help for the girl that has feelings for, and then to know that, you see where he is economically, see where he is mind frame wise. He didn't see a legitimate job getting him the type of money that he wants, and then he chooses what he chooses. So it's a really sad movie in a lot of ways, because there's some definite points where you see some characters that have some paths that don't seem like they're going to end well.
Yeah, and in fact, the interesting thing about that is we get to see how all that stuff pays off for the next generation. Right. And that would be where, as I think you were talking about a rushed climax earlier, the movie kind of proceeds in 3 parts. And rather than kind of intercutting them the way a movie might do, it plays it all chronologically. So you have the story unfold, and then it jumps forward about 15 years, and we see the sons of the 2 main characters and how they interact. And that part really, like, I thought Dane DeHaan.
I think it's Dane DeHaan or DeHaan.
Dane DeHaan.
Weird kid from Chronicle.
We will also get an official pronunciation on that. But I thought he was good. I thought the other son, played by
Emery Cohen.
Emery Cohen.
Yeah.
I thought that character. I mean, he was definitely doing sort of a kid with a lot of bravado who's kind of putting on a character. But it took me a while to realize that I just thought that performance was kind of from a different movie or something. Like there's even a scene where Bradley Cooper's looking at his son, and his son's kind of standing by the pool, just kind of glowering at him. And the way that guy's playing that character with kind of the pouty lips and it looked like they were coming on to each other, you know?
Yeah.
It looked like a romantic scene. And that's the other thing too, is this is definitely one of those movies where there's a lot of acting moments, where there's a lot of scenes of just a character kind of staring and kind of being serious. And sometimes that stuff works, and sometimes it feels like it just might topple under its own seriousness. It's the same way I felt about Shane Carruth's performance in Upstream Colors. There are just times where seeing a guy act serious, sometimes the movie doesn't quite justify the amount of seriousness.
Am I the only one that thought it was really cool that they didn't reveal that it was in New York until like a half an hour into the movie?
Well, I think that it was Schenectady.
Yeah, they didn't really say it though, until later on.
I don't know when it became apparent to me that it was in Schenectady, but
once something happened legally
with the police.
That's when they said where it was. Right. But before that, there was no signage, no nothing, which I thought was really cool.
That's where the name of the movie comes from. Is Schenectady is I forget which tribe it is. It's the Mohawk word for on that side of the pinery or near the pines or place beyond the pine plains. So the name of the movie is a reference to the fact that it takes place in Schenectady. I didn't know that before I dug around, but and that stuff actually reminded me of Miller's Crossing, the drive out into the wilderness. Yeah, which again, I don't suppose that this director is pretending we haven't seen Miller's Crossing. So in my mind, that was like a reference more so than a something stolen or something accidental. But.
Sure,
fucking Ray Liotta.
Yeah, is he ever going to play someone that's not a scumbag?
Right. The problem with that though sometimes is when those people are chosen, those character actors are chosen, you know their role. It's not really a surprise.
Well, Ben Mendelsohn as the co-conspirator,
I enjoyed him so much.
Robin,
but he's also going to be a. I didn't even catch the pun of his name being Robin. But he's getting the corner of the market of sleazy, friend who's. Although in this case, you can't really say he's the worst one of the two. He almost seems like he's more level-headed, but he definitely is the sort of like devil on the shoulder of our character.
Yeah, he definitely knows when to stop.
Mm-hmm.
He does.
He knows when to go far enough to stop to not get caught or to get in trouble in pursuit of this. Yeah. And a lot of it has I kept thinking a lot about the how Bradley Cooper versus Ryan Gosling, even talking about Robin, as his third male character. What they perceived and how they were going to attain this dream, this American dream that we all have, whether it was providing for your family by any means necessary or, going about something by leveraging, your father's connectivity and, which falls into Bradley Cooper's character.
Yeah.
When we first meet him, he is so... He's very much the straight arrow. He's very much against trying to follow his father's.
They did a good job of making him look baby-faced.
Oh, absolutely, and his haircut, and everything.
Everything about it.
Yeah, he looked much younger in those pieces. You're right.
I would almost want to find out if they had him gain 5 pounds or so, because he had that kind of baby-faced kind of look, and he definitely looked younger and kind of doofusy. There's something about that haircut and that super clean shaven look that just made that character you believed that he was a fresh recruit.
Even in his actions in the one scene that he shares with Ryan Gosling and that whole build up is kind of not goofy, but you can tell that he's trying to prove something,
right?
And he's there's definitely errors going on, and that's the scene that you were talking about, Rana, when he first has this conversation with one of the I guess the investigators or the
internal affairs,
Bruce Greenwood's character.
He was great too.
He's just he's kind of being pulled along because he doesn't really know what's going on. But what I was saying was just that you see his character when we first meet him, he is very proud of not wanting to be like his dad, who's a court judge or something like that, and who's very well connected and very wealthy, and they come from this money, and him and his wife, who's played by Rose Byrne. he's like, I want to be a cop. I want to do this. I want to do the right thing. I want to, But then when we see him go through these transitions, he realizes like, well, now I'm going to leverage this for the next step. And then he has a conversation with his dad, and he's like, oh, now I'm going to go towards what he did. And it just seems like even though it ends differently for Ryan Gosling's character, you see both of them making sacrifices that they would would otherwise not have made, and both for different reasons. Like you think that Ryan Gosling's is purely to provide for Romina and the baby, and I get the impression like with Bradley Cooper's character when he makes that decision, he is definitely not as connected to his family as you see Ryan Gosling connected to his, even though it's not really like they're not married, they're not anything. It's a child that he never knew he had until that first, couple minutes of the movie. And Bradley Cooper is this man with the dream. He's got the girl, he's got the baby, he's got the father who's wealthy, he's got the good job as a cop, and this thing happens.
Yeah, but from
to
the
him.
word go, his marriage seems strained.
Exactly.
And
so he
no
doesn't have it all.
there.
So I think there's a point where he feels it, even when he sees like the son of Glenn in the film. You almost see something just like click in him where he like decides, like, I care about my family, but this is about me now, and his actions are selfish. Like they're about him, where, the opposite end was like Gosling's character, which I think that's something I really liked about the movie, which everything that they were in, I really did enjoy, both those characters.
Yeah.
My biggest issue, I just really had issue with basically seeing how it plays out with their kids and following Bradley Cooper's character into his political career and whatnot, and seeing how that all it just felt so. It felt like a different movie. The last 30 minutes felt like a different movie.
I would have actually rather it been like a bonus, like 40-minute movie or something, like for the DVD or Blu-ray.
Almost like the movie would have ended after the second act.
Yeah, if it would have ended kind of, however it ended, and then I would have liked to that have been an extra that I could have watched. It just didn't feel like it was a part of the movie. Like you said, it felt kind of tacked on.
I think something else that we got to think about is that the time that we're following the kids is it's a lot more modern. Seeing these kids in high school and like what one of them does, or actually both of them, like with substances and whatnot. Like, I guess being immersed in that world and seeing like what those kids do, it's like, I don't give a shit about that. It's like, and I didn't buy it really personally.
Yeah. I felt like I was going to say the same thing. I felt like that it kind of loses a little bit of credibility when it gets to it just doesn't seem to have as sure a handle on the behavior of those kids and those characters.
Yeah,
like a very
absolutely.
limited spectrum of kid. I mean, I'm sure there's a certain reality to it, and I'm sure they did their homework, but still it feels very like this is kind of a nightmare vision of what your teenage kids would act like. You know what I mean? Like the sort of lack of judgment and the sort of like the kind of stupidity of what goes on. And also there's that certain thing about the kind of questions about your upbringing, questions about your dad. It's like we're seeing when the son of Ryan Gosling's character goes through all these questions about his dad. It does feel sort of like it's a little convenient that we're seeing it all happen over this short period of time, as opposed to the way the other story unfolds, where it takes its time letting you figure out what the important details are. I was thinking about what you said about Ray Liotta, though. It's almost like like the casting of him in that role. It's like all you have to hear is that Ray Liotta's cast, and that does all the work for you. You know what I mean? Just the fact that he's Ray Liotta means he can play this kind of scumbag
instantly.
character.
Like he's gonna be like the pushy. Like the scene where they're in like the dinner, like he does stuff like
everything
that
about
in
that.
every movie.
I thought it was well done in this movie, though, as far as the way, like the way those corrupt cops get their hooks in.
Definitely,
Bradley Cooper's character, you totally see the sort of devil's bargain that they set him up with that he can't really resist. I thought that was really kind of chilling and believable. But to say that Ray Liotta is good in this doesn't mean that you can't totally predict the type of performance that it is. Like
I wanted to say, like, one of the biggest takeaways for the movie for me was the opening scene. I think a lot of people have been talking about the opening tracking shot and following him from his trailer across the carnival ground into the bike, the cube that the globe that he drives the motorbike in. I thought that was incredible.
Well, I like the way they there's a sneaky thing they do in that shot where he sort of leaves the shot, and then we see what I'm assuming is a stuntman, but I don't know, doing some
the way they panned over for a second and then That was so well
Yeah,
done.
that was really well orchestrated. Like I'm hoping. I mean, I believe he did a lot of his own writing in this, but as that stunt stuff that's
in the actual,
I would be
globe.
surprised if that was him. But
that was really
it's all
well
within
done.
one shot. Like you're in that part still within one shot. So that was pretty clever. Like,
just
it was. Like turn for 1 second, turn back to the globe.
well, there's a guy with a helmet. You know,
Yeah,
he's got the helmet on.
Yeah.
That was so good.
I just thought it was cool, like just following him across the grounds, like
Yeah.
people like asking for an autograph and like recognizing him, and like he's got this little bit of a rock star thing in this world, which is obviously I feel like a reason why he stays in it.
Yeah,
but then
on the fairgrounds, the guy who looks like Ryan Gosling and like rides the cyclorama, I guess that's the closest thing to like.
And he walks
being
around
the
like
front
with his
man.
shirt off,
Yeah,
like half of that shot he's got his shirt off still with his tattoos all out.
Yeah.
I guess that does help you a little bit.
They got right into the story too, which was cool. Like they didn't show, so it starts with that, and then I guess it's like a year after he had met Eva Mendes, which was cool. That they didn't like overdo that beginning part. Like I don't know. Like I think that the first 2 acts were really well done.
Well, I mean, I think it's kind of fitting that we're talking about this in the same episode as Upstream Color, because in both cases you have directors that just know exactly what they're doing and have a lot of control. And it doesn't mean there aren't little flaws. They're still sort of young directors in a sense that they only have a couple or a few movies to their name, but there's such a strong sense of style and such a kind of a vision. And one thing I heard Derek Cianfrance,
sure,
Cianfrance.
I think it is Cianfrance.
Cianfrance.
I've heard that a couple places. You might be right.
But he said there are 3 bullets fired in this movie.
Wow.
And I read that after I had seen it, but when I thought about it, and he said that because someone was asking about his treatment of violence in the film, and he basically was saying that he felt like he's very responsible in terms of his treatment of violence, and he never wants to depict violence just for the sake of it.
Sure.
And I was thinking, it is very true that there, and I again, not having done the count when I was watching it, but thinking about the significance of pretty much every time a gun gets fired in this story or doesn't get fired, the choice that's made to shoot the person or not to shoot the person, and at different scenes it plays out different ways. It really does make you think about that kind of tradition of like what gets passed down from generation to generation, and how one generation might, whether they're doing it on purpose or not, might kind of correct the mistakes of the past. And the movie does kind of end on a semi hopeful note as far as that goes. If you really think about what happens, the ending could have been uglier than it was.
Definitely.
I like the small town feel of it too.
Mm-hmm.
I mean that kind of lends itself to the idea of bullets. The whole idea that like the whole city was impacted by everything that happened with the robbery and everything, and it makes a difference if you're in a really small town and robberies are occurring and stuff like that occurs, and it's a pretty big deal. I mean, as opposed to being in a bigger city,
right?
And kind of getting lost in that, and it doesn't feel like that. Like it feels very, very small town. And whether it's a Schenectady, whatever the fuck, Schenectady is that big. I mean, I don't know how big it is, but this movie really treated it the way that I like most movies that are like this to be handled, and that's like it's kind of enclosed, couple big stores, you know what I mean? One big bank, a couple smaller banks. Like it just really felt like a small town sort of thing, and I enjoyed that about it. So
yeah, and acid wash jeans.
Acid wash jeans.
Yeah,
man, I was under the impression that it had taken place like early 90s, right? Like when it first happened. That's what it felt like.
Well, when I moved to Maryland in 1999, I saw the first acid wash jeans I had seen in 5 years.
Really?
So now that was Dundalk.
Oh,
that's all you need to say.
Yeah, right. No offense to Dundalk. It just is one of those places that sounds like exactly what it is.
I enjoyed it though. Very good. I thought it was a great movie. I mean, the third act.
I thought it was like almost great for me. I felt like just that last piece of the movie just didn't. I mean, I still would highly recommend seeing it. I mean, I definitely really enjoyed it, and it'll be a movie I eventually own. But definitely, if it's in your city now playing, it'll be at your art house cinemas probably. I don't know if it's playing any larger houses, but definitely check it out if you're a fan of any of the main acting talent or of Blue Valentine. But
which I haven't seen.
I really like Blue Valentine.
Was
I intend to because I still haven't seen Drive either.
What?
So,
What?
my plan is to have
How did we let him on this
What the
podcast?
shit?
My plan is to have a Gosling fest surrounding.
Okay, so our number
when Only God Forgives comes out, I'm gonna see Blue Valentine Drive.
What
and
the
Wow,
shit?
John.
So I'm gonna
That was like our number one movie. Both of our movies of last year.
I'm gonna Gosling it up.
Holy crap.
Drive was so good. Make sure you get a very, very high quality copy of it.
Well, only the most legal copy will cross my path, my friend.
Good.
But The Place Beyond the Pines in theaters now, so definitely check it out. We all, I think, enjoyed it enough to recommend it for sure. Ron, I'll let you introduce the next film. With your,
It might be your last.
with your trademark.
It might be your last chance to say it the way you like to say it.
The next movie that we're going to talk about is
Iron Man 3, my fucking John favorite, my fucking Iron Man Mandarin and fucking
Is he doing his Gollum impression again?
I think people may have understood you to say that we're going to talk about Iron Man 3.
Iron Man 3, which I thought was the proper pronunciation of it was Iron Man 3.
Yeah, you mixed up your complaining voices.
Yeah.
Oh, I do all of those.
You went straight to
voices.
Bobby's world with it. Yeah. But yes, Iron Man 3.
Iron Man 3.
What did you think, Ronald?
I mean, if there are certain there are a couple levels of turds. I mean, like I said, the turds that are easy to pick up with, you know, the pooper scoopers.
Mm-hmm.
And this was one of those. I mean, it felt like it wasn't a strong enough storyline. Guy Pearce and was a integral part of this story, and then Ben Kingsley
I
played.
love that that's your takeaway. Guy Pearce was an integral part of the story.
So you watched the trailer?
Yeah.
Ben Kingsley. I don't know, man. Like I take these movies at face value. I mean, it just didn't feel as strong as the first one.
I would agree from a plot standpoint. I thought character arc wise, it was really good. I thought plot wise, it was kind of all over the place.
How did you feel about the whole angle that Iron Man was like? Well, Tony Stark was basically mentally kind of off.
That was my favorite thing about
and
it.
having anxiety attacks.
My favorite thing about it was that he was feeling the effects of what happened in the Avengers movie. I thought that was a really clever way to make it a follow-up to the Avengers without having to reach those
Without
heights.
addressing it
To
all.
say that it's like affected him. Because it's like really he was the, he's the only of that group of people. He's the only kind of normal person who went through as much as, I mean, I guess you could say like Hawkeye and Black Widow as characters, but I mean, in terms of like what he went through in that movie, he's the only one that's not a god or a guy who turns green and all that kind of stuff. So in that sense, it was interesting to say, what would the toll of that type of battle be? And, and it's hard not to see that the movie was drawing some parallels. I don't always like that, but I thought that there were some definite parallels to the sort of like idea of PTSD, and particularly like the way that life in America after 9/11, I think the fact that the kind of oblique references to New York in this story were definitely there to make us sort of think about what our kind of collective PTSD is all about in this country. And the fact that the villain had so much to do with like a terrorist threat. It was all about that sort of living with fear,
Something felt very real
Absolutely,
about his character. Like in the Mandarin. I mean, just seeing stuff of like Osama bin Laden and his
and
tapes
like
that
recording the
kind of popped up.
videos and
And that was, I mean, one thing that I did like about this movie over the first first two, I'm sorry, was that whenever danger came about, it felt kind of isolated in the first two. And this one felt a lot bigger because like Mandarin, when Iron Man first, Tony Stark first has his open threat. Right, and then it's answered back with whatever follows. It's pretty big, like huge. What happens, and that surprised me. And like I guess I was a little surprised at the stakes of this one. I like that about it.
But yeah, as far as what you were saying with the storyline, I do think it kind of reaches a point where the actual plan of the villain is sort of ill-defined, and the sort of parameters of like that. There's a substance called extremis that people have either injected or shot into them somehow that helps regenerate
Homemade
limbs.
ecstasy.
And so what we're seeing is like, wounded soldiers that are brought in there and like limbs are growing back, but some of them apparently are turning into sort of human bombs. And it's not really clear if this kind of weaponizing of a person is the goal or if it's just a side effect. But we definitely that stuff could have stood to be defined a little bit more. I still thought Guy Pearce was. I mean, I enjoyed him in that role, but once it gets to like the last third of the movie,
He gets flat.
it just there's not enough of. I don't understand. Like it was just like an excuse to have a giant fight scene. Almost there wasn't really like a plot.
you don't get the whole implication of what he was trying to do.
Right.
Even though there's a scene where he's explaining it in like 2 lines.
Right.
It still doesn't really explain it. It's just enough to say we tried. I felt like that was
Yeah.
like we tried to just kind of lay this out before this big ass ending. Yeah.
The thing is, if you're making a movie version, it's supposed to be like comic book light. It's supposed to be like
Self-contained.
self-contained, and you should be able to look at it and say, oh, okay, I get this. This creates some curiosity, and I'll read the other one. But this felt like you should have had a guide outside of the movie to get what some of the extremist stuff was.
Like that part of it being a negative of the script. I think in terms of the positives of the script, that Shane Black touch is all over it. For those who don't know, Shane Black was in the 80s sort of known for writing kind of self-effacing action films. Like he wrote these larger than life films, but there was always humor that undercut the action, and there were always characters that would sort of comment on the absurdity of the situation in certain ways. Sure. So like Last Boy Scout, the first Lethal Weapon, and then what was the other one he wrote? Oh, the not a great film, but the Last Action Hero, was that?
Oh man,
No, Last Kiss Goodnight. Last Kiss Goodnight. Long Kiss Goodnight.
Kiss Kiss Bang Bang.
No. Long Kiss Goodnight was what he did in the.
But I think he also did the
He did
Last
Kiss
Action
Kiss Bang
Hero,
Bang, too.
unless I'm wrong about that. But I think he wrote, the one with Arnold Schwarzenegger, kind of, he's like a movie character that comes to life.
Yes,
I'm
Last
not
Action
sure.
Hero.
Yeah, he did that.
Yeah.
I thought you were talking about Long Kiss Goodnight.
Yeah, Long Kiss Goodnight, and then Kiss Kiss Bang Bang,
Right.
which he wrote and directed, which was great.
Kiss was great.
Yeah.
Last Action Hero, I always remember. That movie was so weird.
That's what That's what your takeaway was. It took you a moment to remember that.
I remember saying, "Reach your hand out, and I will catch you." It's a terrible movie.
So let's see. Yeah, writer. But Lethal Weapon 4, Long Kiss Goodnight, Last Action Hero, Lethal Weapon 3, Last Boy Scout. Oh, it actually looks like Lethal Weapon 3 and 4. He just got credit for characters. He didn't actually write those. Then Last Boy Scout, and then Monster Squad.
Oh yeah.
And then
that's a
Lethal Weapon.
classic.
So, yeah, I mean, he's written some really funny films, and even something like Last Boy Scout, which is extremely dated by today's standards. I remember even when I saw that, what I loved about it when I was 14 or 15 was just that it was funny. I mean, it had it has legitimately good, comic beats in it, and this definitely follows in that. I would say it's, as the second movie that Shane Black has directed, it doesn't have the soul that Kiss Kiss Bang Bang has, but it's still like I got my money's worth from what I expected from the pairing of Robert Downey Jr. and Shane Black's dialogue. Like I was expecting that to provide some funny moments, and it definitely did.
How do you feel about Ben Kingsley in it?
Well, you know what? We're getting
like a squandered character.
I liked his role, but there's a moment in the movie where his character kind of changes, and I think after that it was sort of disappointing that the way the movie was structured. But I think we're getting into spoiler territory here. Do we want to talk about the twist or anything, or are we
I mean, I want to respect it. I don't want to give anything away, but.
Well, there is a legitimate a plot, a sort of a plot secret that I think this movie has done a really good job in terms of the marketing of keeping it secret.
Yeah.
So in that sense, I would say even saying that there's a secret feels like you're tipping the hand of the movie just a little bit. But all of the things that could be seen as kind of troubling and vague about certain things to do with the villains, it all starts to make sense about halfway into the movie. It doesn't necessarily. There's really nothing that replaces that feeling of that threat. After that point, though, that would be my one mistake. I love the twist. I don't really love what the movie does with the twist as it sets up the rest of the story.
The weird thing is he has an explanation for why the twist is what it is, but nothing to back it up. Like I feel like it should have more. Like if that's the case, we get why you did what you did, why everything is the way it is, but it's not.
No, right. That's what I mean. Yeah, like
your agenda isn't being pushed forward any stronger.
What agenda? You know what I mean? Yeah, what agenda?
It's very unclear. Like it's so weird that, and maybe they wanted to make it like a random fuck America thing. Like I'm just gonna like do whatever I can do to gain power through fear. What?
That part of it felt very undercooked, and it's. My feeling was, okay, I like the idea, and I've heard a lot of criticism of this movie. People that are saying they were getting superhero movie fatigue, and I get it. But I would say that part of what Marvel's done that I kind of like is that they've set up this thing where if you like these movies, every year there's going to be a couple of them that are going to keep pushing the story forward. If you're not into it, then you don't like superhero movies at this point. And so stop bitching about them. You know what I mean? Like, I don't complain about romantic comedies, and you know what I mean? Those come out all the time that I don't want to go see. So it's like, to me, the notion that there's too many comic book movies or that you can't have a fourth or a fifth, it sort of flies in the face of the idea these characters have been around for decades and there's countless stories to pull from.
Sure.
It definitely, so in that sense, I would say I felt like, oh, this is definitely a successful extension of the storyline. Like, it is a chapter in the life of Tony Stark as a character, and it gets into really who he is as a character separate from the suit of armor that he wears. And it's a very, in the movie, it's very literal that he has armor that he wears to protect him from danger. And now that he's living in this world of fear, he kind of goes crazy inventing all these gadgets and stuff. But like the kind of message of that would definitely be a character that sees what his personal strength is outside of the armor he's built to protect himself. And that's kind of deep. I mean, in a comic booky way, it's kind of a deep idea. Yeah. I think that stuff works great. As far as a storyline, like it does not. I mean, I think they were trying to find a way to not have to top the Avengers, but they definitely didn't come close to topping the Avengers. Well, that's part of it. And it also, did you have a question about like where, like why Shield or why Captain America or somebody wasn't? I mean, I know that this was an Iron Man movie, but it didn't really have an explanation as to why, when the threat gets really big, why there wasn't help from some of his superpowered
That's
friends.
one of the many questions that you saw that article I shared.
Yeah. I thought half those questions were a little were not really questions, but
I don't know. A lot of them I honestly felt walking out of the theater.
Well, let's go down the list. You want to?
Yeah, I actually pulled a couple of them out.
Yeah,
this I think was an article on Film School Rejects if you want to check it out. But they basically put together like 9 or 10 questions of things that they were thinking about coming out of the movie. The ones that I know that I asked, my girlfriend and I were talking about after we saw it. The first one was. Well, actually, you just kind of referred to it, which was why was S.H.I.E.L.D. not involved in this at all? After having just dealt with this huge alien invasion in the Avengers, something that's talking about national security is involving the president and the vice president, terrorism, the other films, the other Iron Man films, like obviously these are huge things going on, but nothing that was on the level of talking about the president and the country. And national security, like it's more like the villain just taking over like his ego and needing to make this bigger, badder thing. But this film, you're talking about the president being kidnapped and things like that, and no Avengers, no S.H.I.E.L.D., no nothing,
leaving it up to just Tony Stark,
in his 47 Iron Man suits, But so that was the one.
Yeah, I agree with that one. The other one, not that they would have had to have brought them in. I'm saying just to explain why they're not there would have been the thought.
Even that, sure. Even that I would have accepted why they're not involved. Sure. My other issue was earlier in the film, you see him basically installing these target points in his arm for this new suit that he's making. I don't know.
That's like the first scene in
Mark
the movie,
42,
almost,
I think it is. Basically a suit that can attach itself to him, basically piece by piece, and like fly to him. Basically wherever he is. Which
leads to a kind of fun scene where he's only got like one boot and one hand on.
Sure. That's fun. My issue, I don't know. I don't want to say some of these things. I don't know if I'm spoiling.
Well, how about before we go further with these, let's just say to anyone that's listening, if you want to see Iron Man 3, you probably know what you're in for. I don't think any of us are saying. I mean, Ronald might be the person with the most negative opinion, but even you aren't saying it was useless. If someone wants to go see it, they should go see it, right?
There were some really cool parts about it. So, I mean...
Yeah, I would say, if you're not going to listen to the rest of this conversation, I did really enjoy Iron Man 3. I didn't love it like I wanted to.
Right.
I don't know that I love the Iron Man films as a whole.
Right.
I did love Iron Man 1, and I did love the Avengers.
It had like a surprise
So give me
factor
something
to it.
in the middle, and that's probably where I am with this.
Yeah, like it didn't have the freshness of of Iron Man 1, and it didn't have the sort of scale and kind
scope,
of scope of the Avengers. But as far as like an interesting little character study of this character,
Sure.
it works.
Absolutely.
It just but it's definitely one of those where the plot, if you think too hard about it, there's nothing even to really think about. So. Hey folks, just wanted to interject and let you know that from this point forward, the podcast enters deep into spoiler territory. Just consider yourself warned and hold on to your butts.
Okay, so the next point is regarding the target points in his arm. Okay, so when as Ronald mentioned earlier, there comes a point when Tony Stark has basically opened up his home to the Mandarin. He gives his address out over national TV or whatever it was. One, there's no real preparation on his part that this guy actually might come and attack him. And when he does come and attack him, there's a moment of horrible thing about to happen, and he basically gives his suit to Pepper Potts.
Mm-hmm.
And it attaches to her with no problem. And she's able to fly it with no problem. She knows how to operate the Iron Man suit. One, that's weird to me, that it works on her when he has to install target points on him for it to even attach. And then later at the end of the film, when Iron Patriot Don Cheadle's character Rhodes in the film, it's the scene in the trailer. This isn't a spoiler, but you see all the Iron Man.
I have an explanation for that.
Okay, let me just explain it first. You see all the Iron Men in the air, and they're all flying around. But when he asks for one of the suits to help Iron Man fight or to help Tony fight, he says no.
I'm racist.
I'm racist.
I was gonna say he's a bigot.
No, they're made for me. They'll only fit me or work for me.
His kind.
So
that's what he means.
Yeah. The one of the lesser dark variety.
What if he had said, no, those only work with my kind? And then there'd been like a weirdly serious moment between them where it was like racial tensions are still alive and well in the Marvel
Get
universe.
out of here, Jackie Robinson. You cannot.
No, but I came up with an explanation in my head of that.
Okay.
But,
well, so that's my issue.
Yeah.
So what are your
what are your
points?
Racist.
I think he's racist.
That's it.
I mean, and it's his lady, so he probably had like a back.
See, that's what somebody else told me. But
here's what I thought. My thought is that the Iron Man, whatever the Mach 42 suit is different from those suits that's the special, because all the suits, like there's several Iron Men. If you saw the trailer, you've seen it. Those, it's unclear whether those are suits or whether they're just robots or whether they're built to the same specifications of the regular Iron Man suit.
Well, he gets into some of the suits.
Does it? But in
that final scene,
I guess maybe what I'm saying is it's possible to believe that the regular Iron Man suit is different in that way than those suits. But what I agree with you about is that there's no explanation of that. And so what you do have is the one scene and then the later scene. And it really just, I think in the Film School Rejects article, they basically suggest that Tony Stark's just being a dick.
Right. And if that's the case, then that's really not good.
Right. Then it's...
I mean, you make a suit for him. He's the Iron Patriot now. You give him one of your suits. Mm-hmm. That suit obviously fit him fine.
Yeah.
That suit falls in the number of the Mark suits, probably in the number of like the low teens, late single digits. And that one fit him fine. When he went to use it in Iron Man 2.
Yeah.
But why do none of these fit?
Well, and when he was calibrating it and it was slapping onto his body, which was weird. Why didn't it injure her in any way? Like he barely
slams into you.
He was barely able to handle it slamming into his arm at one point. He's like, and he had to catch it the last time, so it didn't smack into his face.
But to me, that's funny. Like that was just part of the comedy of like seeing. That was one of the best parts of the first movie was seeing him develop. That to what you could, but I agree that stuff. It's like what you're getting at is the way that the movie tries to let you have the kind of fun, light tone and kind of humor in the middle of all this life and death stuff. It really just seems like the National Guard should have been involved. It wouldn't have been a very interesting climax to a superhero movie, but like it does not quite. It doesn't really make sense.
Yeah,
it kind of seems like what they're really trying to play there is that Rhodey, the Don Cheadle character, has a. It's kind of the put-upon sidekick of Tony Stark. Sure, and it's like that's a funny vibe to play most of the time. But in that scene in particular, it did kind of seem like you just kind of scratched your head. Even watching it the first time, I was like, huh, that's weird.
Yeah.
Like, why not just not have that line of dialogue in there? Because it brings up more questions than it answers.
Another thing that was weird, like the terrorist tapes that Mandarin did were like overproduced. Like they just were very
he did
transitions.
Yeah, lots of editing and
fade in and fade outs and large font. Like well written font. It was very like over the top.
Well, now that we're in the spoiler portion of the show, we can
we're
talk
in safe
about
territory
Mandarin and what the twist with Mandarin is. What I like about that, the reason I think that works, if you're listening to this, you either don't care or already know, is that the Mandarin, as we see in the trailers, the Ben Kingsley character is not the true villain of the piece. In fact, the character of Mandarin is a fake persona adopted by this British actor, and Ben Kingsley almost plays like a kind of drunk, sloppy version of himself in that role. I mean, he's just doing the reason I love that is because the character of Mandarin, as envisioned in the original comic books, if you were to do it straight, is incredibly racist. He's like the evil, mystical Oriental, with like the power rings, and he's got like the crazy top knot. I mean, everything about him was like comes from the '60s when you could just say like the Chinese villain, and people would go, "Oh, okay,
no.
that's enough to make him evil." So bringing that character into today, it would be problematic. The way they respond to it is to like sort of meet that head on of you're saying, well, this character is sort of problematic. I can't tell where that accent's from. Is he Chinese? Is he Middle Eastern? I mean, there's all these mixed signals. It's all deliberate on the part of the people that have hired this actor to play the Mandarin.
How do you feel about him?
It's all deliberate to make him a mystery man, but in the context of the movie, what Shane Black and the other screenwriters figured out is a way to have that character and twist what would be an offensive racial caricature kind of on its head and say, you can have this character, but you can't really have this guy because this guy doesn't exist. This malevolent Middle Easterner with all these mystical ideas and stuff. This guy doesn't really exist. He's a bogeyman.
A Middle Easterner with a Texas accent. Though.
Well, with or even more like a Midwestern.
Midwest, yeah.
Very weird. What was that?
That was again designed to.
Yeah,
it was designed to, in the context of the movie, it's designed to let people wonder who he is and wonder where he's coming from. In the context of us watching this movie, I think it was sort of there to sort of. I mean, they kind of tip their hand without really tipping their hand, because as far as the commercials, you would just believe that you're going to see a Joker-esque down with society, here comes chaos type villain,
totally.
Which would have been interesting maybe to see. So maybe the one complaint I would have about the twist is that the concept of this Mandarin character who sows seeds of fear, he's gone. And now we have the Guy Pearce villain in his place, and his plan is so muddled and confusing, as we were alluding to before, that there's really nothing that replaces that idea that at the beginning of the movie Tony Stark was kind of striking out against,
That makes more sense to me. Like I guess because we've seen iterations of villains like that in real life. I guess the Mandarin like people rather than the Guy Pearce ones, it just didn't feel like it. Even when he tried to explain what his goals were, like Steve was saying.
Yeah, I almost think that like what John was just mentioning is I almost would have rather had seen the movie have the Mandarin play out with the character that you you kind of, even though I did really like that twist and I did like the whole shift in tone, for the most part, I almost felt like in terms of Guy Pearce's storyline with Extremis, like I see the motivation to tie those villains together. Mm-hmm. If there were two villains, if there was a true villain and then this science piece that was like supplying it,
like Bane.
I like that,
like Bane,
right?
If it was done like Bane, I would have been like, oh, that's fucking awesome. That Mandarin is working for,
or vice versa,
yeah, or whatever.
Where you get the impression that Killian was never able to get the funding or get his technology or his science off the ground from the government, from the U.S. government, from Tony, from whoever, from Pepper. But then he found, an audience, in the Mandarin. That stuff I thought was really cool. And I was like, okay, well, and then you see scene when they're together filming one of these videos, like, okay, so like he's basically bankrolling this whole thing. And they're using this technology to be so pinpoint and, to basically plan these attacks on U.S. soil and these bombs that don't leave any trace and all these things. That was really interesting. And I think it's an interesting point like that. I don't know if I know I've said it before with different comic book movies, but I'm not a huge comic book guy.
Yeah.
I have followed some, series over, when I was younger and a teenager, but I'm not really into Iron Man at all in terms of comics. So I don't really have a real big backstory with Extremis or the Mandarin or anything.
I don't either. I just happen to remember him, and he was always that typical sort of like, And
that's what I saw in like the research I was doing before the movie came out. So I went in there thinking that. So I'm like, well, where's that going to play? And it really didn't ever take off. And I was like, okay, maybe they just kind of went in a different direction with it. And I mean, I think that the twist is like,
See, I don't think the twist is the problem. I think it's that they had nothing after the twist.
Well, I mean,
I agree with you
that's
guys
the movie that we have.
Compared
to
what we got, it's more interesting to imagine that threat that we saw at the beginning of the film playing out. But the movie in my head that it could have been, I think it's ballsy to do something like that, and I don't know how they could have gotten the Mandarin to work as a character without still having somehow commented on the fact that he would have to be a guy who's like using people's fear of the unknown and of other cultures to kind of stoke that sense of unrest. But yeah, I think that either way, what we're all kind of saying is that after that twist, it's like the air kind of is let out of the movie to some extent. There's really nothing.
It starts to feel like a really flat comic book movie, like where there's not a whole lot of explanation, there's not a whole lot of logic, and everything that we've seen up to that point with all these extremist soldiers, these subjects, and that have this in their, it's in their body, and some of them are like bombs, and some of them, basically develop this super strength, and some of them can actually like breathe fire, things like that. It just goes off the ramp at that point. Like there's really no logic to it. Where you understand, I would make an assumption, or I make up something in my mind, like maybe some of their bodies accepted or rejected differently, or maybe some of their bodies, once their limbs are growing back, like it empowers them in a different way once they keep receiving these injections. But that's never exactly explained to you.
Yeah.
So you're making that up just so that I can make sense of what's going on. Literally in that last big scene, our big action scene at the end of the movie, when all these soldiers that are full of this substance are battling all these Iron Man units. It's just like they're invincible. Like, at one moment they are, and then the next they fall like dominoes.
They're invincible until they're not.
Right.
And then, I
wish you would explain the rules.
Because that scene, we talk about that rules in movies. And I think that's one thing they did not do with the extremists, whatever you want to call those, the warriors that have been turned into Supermen with that
like universal solution. Soldiers,
like the
or Robert Patrick from T2,
like what the limits of their power, all that stuff. It's interesting. Since we're spoiling, it's interesting that Pepper Potts kind of becomes one of them, and I thought it was actually kind of cool that she sort of beats the bad guy at the end instead of Tony. I mean, again, I think that was kind of a neat twist, but still, it's like the stuff I cared about in that scene. It's one of those weird things where the characters, like I sort of knew, well, they're not going to kill Iron Patriot. They're not going to kill Pepper Potts. They're not going to kill Iron Man. So it's like there wasn't really much sense of peril in that scene. And you were mentioning, Steve, the super soldiers fighting the Iron Man costumes, the Iron Man suits at the end. It even though the way it was realized and the setting of it, like at the docks with those giant cranes and stuff, was really cool visually, and the scope of it was great.
Yeah.
But the as far as the threat, it felt almost like I always go back to in Phantom Menace, that scene at the end where it's the Gungans versus the battle droids, and there's nothing but pixels on screen.
Yeah.
And it's really hard to get invested in what's going on. There were moments in that battle that sort of felt that way to me. I mean, it's definitely better than that, but it's still sort of at the end you start to feel like, okay, you're kind of just waiting for it to be over. You're not really wondering what's going to happen. You know what I'm saying?
I don't like feeling like there are no stakes. I think that's why I don't like whatever this franchise has become. Like, they're really bad at making the stakes seem high after a point. Like, it's just all about, once the suits came, I was like, there's no, like, they're going to destroy everybody at some point, and that's going to be over. I mean, I was like,
which again would have been if we had known more about what those super soldiers were going to do, or at what point they were all going to blow up, and it was going to be like an atomic level blast or something. We didn't have any concept of what would happen if Iron Man didn't stop them. We still don't. And I'd have to even go back in my mind to see if I could figure out what the imminent threat in that scene was, except for the fact that they had Pepper Potts prisoner.
Oh, they had the president.
The president.
They were going to sacrifice the president.
Oh, so saving the president was the. But again, I agree. At that point, it shouldn't have been just like everyone shouldn't have been saying, "Well, let's wait for Tony Stark to figure this one out."
Like I was saying to you guys, like the more I thought about it after I'd seen it, the more I realized I was making excuses for it, because I really did want to enjoy it a lot. Because I mean, whatever. I'm down with this whole Marvel phase. If this is 2,
this is phase 2. And this is maybe as an indication of what they're going to do, which is try to deepen the characters a little bit.
Right.
But let's hope the plots of the next couple of movies are more developed.
I can't. I'm having trouble articulating this right now, because like the Avengers film, like dealing with this otherworld element, like these alien and you know everything from you know more with like Thor, you know, and from his world. So I feel like they made more sense of that than they made of this, which is like military, science, and government. Like these are things that exist here, you know. And like I feel like there wasn't as much logic in this movie as there was in the event, you know, in the Avengers, which bothers me because I mean I think like when you come back to Tony Stark, like a lot of the positive takeaways is really kind of getting this character development, which was very good. I also loved every scene that he was in with that kid Harley.
Yeah.
I love the kid stuff. Like when he went to that town, that was great. I thought when he was, you know, nothing but good stuff to say about
which
that.
is like surprising, but it was totally a Shane Black thing to say, okay, we're going to have this kid, which could be the sappiest part of the movie, but actually the banter was good and that kid character was funny. And it was, what is it? I love when the kid's talking about his dad being gone and Tony says, yeah, Dad, that's what dads do. They leave. Don't be a pussy about it. You know?
I love the part where Tony had like the panic attack and a kid came over to him. He's like, what the hell was that?
He just kept egging it on.
That was hilarious, man.
I loved too, like the other thing that I thought was great in this movie, that I like, and it's interesting that it made me think of Southland, which I'd just been watching. You know how every now and then on Southland there'll be a moment where there's some asshole that's like making a scene in a restaurant or on a construction site or whatever, and one of the cops just goes over and just throws the guy out or puts him down or whatever, and then everybody else kind of slow claps for him. Yeah. I love, and it gets me when they've done it in like the Spider-Man films a little bit, and I think they've done it a little bit in Batman. But when you get that sense that to the people of this town, they fucking love these heroes. I really enjoy that. I love the idea that they're owning up to the fact that Tony Stark would essentially be, I mean, you know, a hero. He would be like a rock star and an astronaut and Lance Armstrong before everyone hated him and everything rolled into one, you know? So in that sense, I love it when they play that aspect of the world, that people know who he is and that people are coming up to him, and like kids have, like the kid had the drawing of him going into the wormhole from the end of Avengers, and all these kids are coming up to him wanting to ask him questions, and it's like the exact subject that sends him into these panic attacks. I thought that stuff was really, really well done and seemed to be commenting a little bit on, you know, fame and that sort of thing. So I thought that the character stuff was good. It's interesting what you said, Steve, that the more you thought about it, the less you liked it. I came out of it with sort of an iffy opinion of it, but the more I thought about it, the stuff I thought about was the performances and the particularly the character arc of Tony. I sort of liked it more the more I thought about it, but then when I started remembering the plot, I had that kind of feeling of, I guess I would put it as much better, much more watchable than Iron Man 2.
Oh, absolutely.
But yeah, not as fresh and fun as
You know
Iron
what
Man
else
1.
bothered me a lot? Jon Favreau's involvement in this movie.
You didn't like it?
I didn't like what Happy is his name in the film.
Yeah.
I didn't. I mean, besides him being the one that gets the one picture that helps Tony piece this whole thing together.
Yeah.
I just feel like it was like, I don't know where his character plays.
Well, his
in the
character,
whole
he's
world.
sort of an Alfred figure to Tony.
Sure.
So
I just felt like though it didn't.
should have been Shane Black playing that.
Everything he did in the movie just felt so forced. Like it didn't actually have any. It didn't feel like that would really be happening in Tony's world. now.
I think the first 20, 30 minutes of the film, there were moments where I was like bored.
Yeah.
Just
which
waiting
is
for
up
it
to
to
the
kind of
po-
kick in, and that's all the stuff. I mean, I'm not blaming Jon Favreau,
not
but that's
at
all the stuff
That's
that
not
he
the
was
only
in.
problem.
That kind of.
But yeah, he has a bigger role in that. Like he's Pepper's the head of security, and he's the one that suspects something's going on.
Well, him kind of scowling at the guy was funny, but that was maybe the best beat his character got.
I don't know. Just something about the character bothered me after the movie, like and how we follow up and we see him in the hospital pointing to Downton Abbey. And, Like it just, I just didn't like any of that stuff. I mean,
I got a chuckle out of that, but I agree that like the part of the movie that he was in was the part that was sort of the bumpiest in terms of me feeling like, what kind of movie is this? Like, what's the trajectory of this going to be? But
I'd agree with you. I mean, way better than Iron Man 2. But Iron Man 1 definitely is still it doesn't have that I don't know, that originality. I mean, obviously with being the first, but just like the experience, of that first one and just everything it brought. I mean,
what a surprise it was.
It just stepped up the game. I mean, it just set the bar for these Marvel films, and it definitely is it's a step in the positive direction. I don't think it's negative at all. And I mean, it's like made $750 million already, which is absolutely insane.
It's yet another movie that doesn't need our help.
Oh my God. I can't believe this movie made like $200 million before it even came out in the United States.
It was way better than the second one.
Yeah, I mean, definitely check it out. I mean, everybody that
If
you know this movie exists and you know and you ever share a sentence about Iron Man or the Marvel films or Avengers, you're gonna see it. So go see it. And you may agree or disagree with us, but I think it's definitely worth watching. I mean, I'll watch it again probably.
Yeah, I'll probably end up seeing it again.
It's fun. It's a fun film. I just you always get to the points like I felt like we were doing this with Dark Knight Rises. Like you just expect so much from these movies that even though you still enjoy it, you just really want to pick it apart. And you look at what the predecessors have done. In terms of Iron Man 1 more so, and maybe the Avengers, and you just want it to notch up as it takes this second phase.
Well, I like to say, I like the way it ends. It ends on this note that really the story of Iron Man is almost resolved in this movie. If there weren't going to be another story, you could almost see it as a trilogy. Because at the end of this movie, he's sort of come to peace with who he is as a man and not feeling like he needs to be this hero. So, I mean, I guess theoretically, when they pick up with that character, he may have to be coaxed into putting the suit back on or something. But yeah, were you about to talk about the heart thing?
Yeah.
That was I have to admit that
that bothered me.
I feel like there's some explanation that they didn't give as to why suddenly it's possible. But yes, at the end of this movie, he gets the piece of shrapnel taken out of his heart. That was the reason why he invented the reactor in the first movie, and this is getting way too complicated. But there is a beat at the end that feels like sort of an uplifting beat, but it leads to more questions than answers.
He just now had the motivation to do it.
Yeah.
Don't give up.
So the question is he ever going to...
You can get the shrapnel taken out of your heart.
He's got the shrapnel taken out of his heart, but the real threat to humanity that's posed by Iron Man is the fact that he has the most annoying, like overly manicured boy band beard.
Chin strap.
Is that ever going to be corrected? Is that something for Iron Man 4?
I don't know. Maybe he'll cut it off. Well,
maybe someone will confuse him
from just have like the little goatee.
Yeah.
Like in the opening.
Which is weird.
Maybe someone will confuse him for a member of Color Me Bad, and he'll go and shave it.
Or he looks like Andy
Dick?
No, SNL. Why are none of the Andys that we go to first the most relevant right now?
Samberg?
Andy Samberg's character from the Lonely Island Boys.
Yeah.
his facial hair.
Oh, the things with Timberlake.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Dick in a Box. That character. Yeah, not Lonely Island Boys.
Which I guess is sort of a Color Me Bad riff in a sense.
It all comes back to Color Me Bad.
Color Me Bad with 2 Ds. Come on, guys.
I want to sex you up.
Yeah.
Just a great song.
I got nothing else for Iron Man 3. I feel like I'm spent.
I know.
The more I talk about it, the more I'm a dick.
Yeah.
But I did still enjoy it.
Yeah.
But that's my preface is just that I expect a lot from these movies. The budgets are huge.
Yeah.
They have their pick of the litter in terms of who's involved with these movies. And all you want is consistency, and not just consistency. You want it to notch up.
And they did so many things right. That's the one thing that is hopeful is that they did get Shane Black, who's a director who has his own kind of style, to co-write and direct this.
Oh,
and
absolutely.
I think Marvel, continues to seem really smart with how they put these things together. But
in theaters everywhere.
You know about it.
On multiple screens at every theater everywhere.
Shit.
Until the next big blockbuster comes out, which is...
What's that going to be?
Well, today Gatsby's coming out. Next week is it next week is Star Trek or the week after? I don't know. It's a big movie season. Every week pretty much is a big one coming out. But Iron Man is very smart in the sense that it always kicks off the summer and it's got those 2 or 3 weeks where it just dominates and it just makes a lot of money.
You think Gatsby's going to put up some big numbers?
I don't know. I'm not convinced.
I'm not convinced either. I think it's going to be a good movie.
I think I'm really going to enjoy it. I think it's going to get mixed to mixed positive, slightly positive reviews. I don't know that the audience is going to turn out.
I just don't know that I feel the awareness of it all over the place. The way, like a lot of times you can tell a movie's going to really hit because it's like a recognizable name and everyone's kind of talking about it. And I feel like with Gatsby, I just haven't gotten that sense that.
Yeah.
I mean, my friends that are into movies know about it, but I just haven't gotten that sense. You know what I'm saying? It just doesn't feel like it's reached this kind of weird critical mass. Whereas with Iron Man, there's no question that, when the day that came out, that people were aware of it.
I think they made a huge mistake in pushing the movie back. I think that there was much more want to see it when it was supposed to come out last fall, and much more in terms of being able to ride around that Oscar buzz, even if it never got a nomination, because a lot of movies bank off of that, even just for box office. I've also read a lot of reviews this week that talk about how the 3D reason why they were pushing it back is completely unnecessary. That the 3D was not needed. I mean, there may be a couple cool shots.
3D not necessary to tell the story of the Great Gatsby?
It's weird.
Huh.
Who would have thought that?
But I don't know. We'll
Classic
see.
Marvel.
I'm definitely looking forward to it, and I'm sure we'll be talking about it on the next episode.
However, the next episode, where I'm pretty excited about, that's going to be our big Maryland Film Festival episode.
I'm excited.
So on the day that this comes out, the festival's still going on in full swing. So anyone who's listening to this, there's big movies coming out. There's big movies that are already out, but maybe, take a chance to see some of these that you might only get a chance to see once. I mean, one thing that's great about making time for film festivals is whether it's short films or odd little documentary shorts or whatever it is, it's stuff that you may only ever see in that situation. And some of these movies, to see them in a crowd with on a big screen, it's a real
Not to mention
thrill.
that most of the films that we're going to be able to see at the festival this year are usually presented by somebody involved with the film, which is another whole level to the experience. Ron and I saw some films last year where the directors were there, being able to ask
really
questions.
Mhm.
I mean, the Q&As are really fun, but we're going to have some films. We're all going to go see some collectively, but then we'll see some independently. But we'll be definitely talking about a lot of new movies coming up on episode 71, which will be our recap of the Maryland Film Festival 2013, which, having gone to every festival for the last long time, this looks like probably one of the best years.
It's
I
good
will
lineup.
say. Like, it's got a lot of amazing films on the slate, from studio films that already have studio distribution that they've managed to get, to a lot of, like John said, small shorts, small docs that will eventually be movies. Probably at the end of 2013, you are probably going to be hearing some of these films' titles being talked about, around the award season. Because I mean, from stuff I've read about some of the documentaries that they're showcasing, a couple of them are probably going to show up at
Well, it's a
the
great way to
Oscars next year.
feel really in the know when the awards start rolling out. Is that like we go to a film festival to try to see a bunch of things. It's a lot of times it's a year later that those films are getting distribution,
totally.
and you get to feel like you knew it all along. Oh yeah, so I've been recommending that film for months now. So
Yeah,
So be a
It's
smug.
good time. I'm excited. We're gonna have some fun.
Yeah, increase your smug. See it before everybody else.
So yeah, that's about it. Episode 70.
An epic episode.
An epic episode. As always, you know what we do. We eat up those minutes. Yeah, I got nothing else, guys.
Three good to very good to pretty good films. I mean, there's each one of these movies had something that kept it from being perfect, but there's not of Upstream Color, The Place Beyond the Pines, and Iron Man 3. There's really not one I would say to stay away from. So,
I mean, the good thing with Upstream is you can watch from your house now. So just why don't you do that?
Mm-hmm. And then be sure to check out Upstream Comer.
Yeah, it's the also direct to DVD release.
Yeah, right.
Starring Sasha Grey and James Dean.
I don't know who that is, but obviously you do.
Two very talented porn stars.
All right. I'm glad we got the talent in that movie. Nothing but the best. As always, guys, thanks so much for listening. You've made our day.